From the primary panel, we have two choices with respect to viewing data. We can look at it using the Browse View option, or we can edit it. Browse and View are intended for situations where you want to look at the data but not update it. More importantly, this ensures that you can't even accidentally update it. And this becomes quite useful to ensure that when you are looking at important system definitions, then accidental changes can't be made. In this case, an accident can be as simple as simply pressing the wrong key and making an unintentional modification. When we edit a file, we can create a new file and we can perform any other editing task needed. Line commands allow manipulation of individual lines or blocks to be able to copy, move, repeat, and delete entries. As with any normal editing process, items can be readily added, overtyped, or deleted. In addition, commands can be entered to copy data from other files, create new output files, replace existing output files, use the find mechanism and repeat find, as well as change with replace option. Many of these commands also have additional parameters that allow control over where within the file a particular action should be targeted. For example, if I want to look for a character string within the first 10 positions, I can simply code an F, the string I'm looking for, and 1 space 10 to indicate that I want to search for the string between columns 1 through 10. I can also search for particular combinations of characters and strings by simply putting in the desired values within single quotes. In this way, if there are spaces or special characters, they will be included in the search without requiring any additional coding. Let's take a moment and view the View, Browse, and Edit facilities within ISPF. And one of the key benefits that we'd mentioned about View and Browse is the fact that I cannot make changes to anything that I view or that I browse. Now, Browse is strictly a read-only situation, but with View, I do have the ability to actually enter data, but I can't save it. Now, that may seem a little bit unusual, but one of the advantages there is that I can actually make changes and am forced then to create a new member if I want to preserve those changes. So let's take a quick look at how this would actually work. First of all, one of the concerns that we'd mentioned before was accidentally making a change. So in this particular case here, let's say I select this particular member, I do a find on EQU. So I've located this, and again we can see with the highlighted value on the left hand side in red which is the entry that we are looking at. So now my cursor is positioned there. And let's assume for a moment that what I want to do is that I want to scroll forward 8 lines. So I type in the number 8, and then I hit my PF8 key to scroll forward. But because of the fact that my cursor was positioned in the wrong place, I've actually modified this value up here. And as a result, by moving forward, I get the display indicating that I cannot save changes here. So this alerts me to the fact that I have made a change that I had not intended to make. Now what I can do, of course, is that I can simply cancel out of this. And that, of course, is going to allow me to exit and no changes would be saved. On the other hand, what I could do is that let's say I do want to make some changes. And what I want to do is that I want to go ahead and I want to change all of these equates to X's, like this. So I go and I make this change, and I can repeat. And so I'm using the F6 in this case to do a repeat change. And of course I could make a global change as well. But in this case I'm just illustrating the use of the PF key. So again, I hit the enter, and now what happens is that I've gone through and I've made these changes, but I'm still in the view mode. So when I go to exit this, PF3, he tells me that I cannot save this information. So in other words, if I end it, then what I'm going to do is that he's going to put me back into view. Otherwise, what I have to do is that I have to go ahead and cancel this to exit this particular member. But you'll notice that it also indicates that I can use the create or replace in order to be able to save the changes that I did make. And this becomes quite useful because of the simple fact that if I've made a bunch of changes in here and I want to preserve them, I don't risk losing them. I can simply create them into another member. So all I need to do is that on the command line, I can just type in create B99, for example, is the name of the member that I want to create, and then I indicate that I want all of the lines included. And now we can see that member B99 was created. My changes have been preserved, but I have not saved any of the changes in the original member. So in this case now I can cancel, exit, and now I've not modified the original member, but I have preserved my changes in a newly created member. So these are the kinds of things that we can do using the View and Browse facility. The edit mechanism works in a virtually identical manner, and in this case, again, what I'm going to do is select option 2, and then I'm going into the same library, and I can select the members here that we did. You can see member B99 is the one that we had just created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that one, and what I can do now is I can go through and I can edit and make whatever changes that I choose. Now we've seen how we can do a basic change kind of function, but one of the other things that I can do is that I can move things around, for example, by typing in an M on this line and an A to indicate after this line. So that indicates I'm going to move the line that's currently at 170 and move it after the one that is at 150. And you can see in this case here that that move took place, and we got a new sequence number assigned, and this allows us then to always have a unique value there, and that's handled by ISPF. In addition, what I could do is I could copy, and in this case a copy after this one, and you can see now that I've retained the original one as well as created a copy. I can also do a repeat. For example, if I want to repeat this line 3 times, I can type in an R3, and in this case now I've repeated it 3 times. And similarly, I can use the D command, for example, to delete lines, or I can use block commands with like a double D to indicate, for example, I want to delete that whole block of commands. So all of these things are available to us in our edit mechanism in order to be able to make modifications. And of course, I can insert lines if I want to, and I can have a blank line and go ahead and enter some new value there, as well as just overtyping values that are already there. So those are the basic mechanisms that are going to be involved with our edit facility.